What's up? It's Billy Brisbane getting Bills on Twitter, part two. We got Tuesday night football here, so we're going to go over the Tuesday games. But before we get into the Tuesday games, we're going to do a Monday review. Went 5-2 on the day. Cash, the Browns +3, Donovan Peoples-Jones over 2.5 receptions, Josh Jacobs over 24.5 receiving yards, missed out on David Njoku anytime touchdown prop at +260, and David Montgomery +125, missed out on that one too, but did cash David Montgomery over 20.5 receiving yards, and Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown. But let's get over to this Tuesday slate. First game of the slate is the Washington football team 6.5-point underdogs versus the Philadelphia Eagles, who are going to be 6.5-point favorites here. Over under here is 42.5. The first player that we're going to look at, though, is going to be Jalen Hurts. This Washington football team is absolutely completely depleted with 17 players on the COVID IR from their active roster. Their defense has given up the most touchdowns in the NFL and allowed 21.5 fantasy points per game so far this season. Hurts has gone over 200 passing yards just once since week 4, but with the 8 rushing touchdowns this year, that provides a floor and ceiling on this slate compared to others. So I do like me some Jalen Hurts on this slate. To be honest with you, my favorite pass catcher that I'm going to pair him with is going to be the rookie Devontae Smith. He's been kind of awfully quiet, but I think this is going to be a good spot for Mr. Smith here. Washington's defense is allowing 26.3 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver position, the second highest total in the league. Since week 8, the Eagles have gone with a run-heavy game script, becoming one of the more run-heavy teams in the NFL. During that span, Smith has had 29 targets, 18 catches, 295 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I expect the ownership to be low. He's drawn no more than 6 targets in any game during that stretch. He could be due for a big day against the soft Washington secondary. William Jackson will be guarding Smith. He's allowed 475 yards, 6 touchdowns so far this season. So I love me some Devonta Smith on this slate. The other pass catcher that I would pair him with would be Dallas Goedert. But I'm kind of off of Dallas Goedert a little bit. He's coming off his best game of the season. I don't think he'll repeat his 25.5 fantasy point performance that he did against the Jets. Goddard looked great with Minshew, but you can't really say the same with Hurts. The two haven't connected on a touchdown pass since week 4. But the other guy to look at in this Eagles offense to pair it with Hurts is going to be Quez Watkins, the secondary wide receiver. He's been the Eagles' top deep threat since the disappearance of Reagor in the offense. He's played no fewer than 70% of the snaps in any game since week 5. So I do like me some Quez Watkins. That would be the only other guy that I'd be looking at on the Eagles. Going over to the running back position for the Eagles, we're going to talk a little bit about Miles Sanders. He's been trending in the right direction, coming off of his best game of the season. Was also injured at the end of the game, but he returned back from injury practice during the bye week. Washington's run defense is 7th in DVOA and give up the 10th fewest fantasy points to the running back position. So touche for Miles Sanders. Could be a good matchup, but some of the running backs are coming back this week, like Jordan Howard, Boston Scott. So it should be a timeshare split, but Sanders should benefit the most from it. But let's go over to the Washington football side. Washington football team, their starting quarterback for this slate is going to be Garrett Gilbert. Garrett Gilbert resigned off the practice squad of the Patriots. He's projected to be the starter for this game. He's supposed to get the nod over Kyle Sherman, who's been on the Washington practice squad since the start of the year, but I don't think they have trust in him. Gilbert has had some NFL experiences before. While I won't be playing him, I will be looking at some of his pass catchers. It sucks because I kind of don't want to play Terry McLaurin on this slate. He wasn't on the final injury report heading into tonight's slate, clearing concussion protocol. Scary Terry's been disappointing 5 of the past last 6 weeks. As you can see right here, against Dallas, didn't really do anything. Against the Raiders, he didn't really do anything. And against Seattle, he didn't really do anything. And then Tampa Bay would be kind of a mid-game. He had 8 targets, 6 catches, 59 yards, and he looked really good against Carolina, but he doesn't look good against Carolina right now. But the other guy that we would be looking at in this offense is going to be Ricky Seals-Jones. For this Washington football team, the Eagles have allowed the most receptions, the second most yards, and second most touchdowns to the tight end position this year. This could be a high-risk high reward type of play with John Bates' involvement of recent. But with Logan Thomas being out, you might want to gamble on the upside, even with Garrett Gilbert back there as the quarterback. This should be a great matchup for Ricky Seals-Jones. $5,000 on FanDuel and $3,400 on DraftKings. And then the last guy that we'll talk about, my favorite play probably actually from this game in general, is going to be Antonio Gibson. As you can see, he's going to be at the top of the running back projections, projected at 11.81 points in this bout. Antonio Gibson should honestly be the bell cow of this backfield, especially with McKissick out. The Eagles have given up the 12th fewest rushing yards so far this season. Not the best in matchups, but just volume is going to trump the talent and the production here. The only other guy that I would be looking at on this Washington football team would be Adam Humphries, with Curtis Samuel's out. That would be the only other guy that I would really look at in that game. But let's go over to this Seattle and LA Rams game. Seattle Seahawks 7-point road underdogs versus the Los Angeles Rams, who 7-point home favorites here. Over under here is 45.5. That is the highest over under out of the two games. First guy that we're going to look at, though, is going to be Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a bounce back week last week, throwing for 2 touchdowns for his third straight game. It was also his highest passing yard total since week 3. We've seen this Rams defense destroy Murray last week, but also pick apart by Rodgers. So however you want to go about it, that's how you want to go about it. But the guy that you probably really want to target in this offense is probably going to be DK Metcalf, man, especially with Tyler Lockett out in this one. DK Metcalf has had 8 straight receiving touchdowns through the first 8 weeks of the season. He hasn't had a touchdown since, but he should see a target boost without Lockett in the lineup. Metcalf has gotten at least 8 targets in exactly 4 of his past 5 games. The public might be scared of the Jalen Ramsey coverage, but I do like DK Metcalf on this slate. Might be taking a prop on him. $7,500, $6,400 on DK. Feels like a reasonable price tag, but I think my favorite part of the Seattle team is going to be the value wide receivers here in this spot. I really like the price tags of their secondary wide receivers. The first one being Freddie Swain right here. The 2026 round draft pick has slowly carved out a role in this offense without Lockett. He could be the big play receiver, but he's been touchdown reliant so far this season. 34 targets, 20 catches, 219 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. The only other guy that you would probably want to look at, though, would be the rookie here. I think this is going to be a smash spot for the rookie. I'm going to try to plant my flag on him, try to bet a couple props on him. It's going to be D. Eskridge, man. Dwayne Eskridge. This seems like the perfect game script for the 24-year-old second-round draft pick from this year's draft. He's dealt with many injuries in the majority of the season, but his best game came against San Fran a couple weeks ago. 3 catches for 35 receiving yards and a touchdown. One of these Seahawks secondary players definitely going to hit. I definitely think this is the best value on the slate. The other guy that I would be looking at would be Gerald Everett, the tight end for the Seattle Seahawks. This could be, a nice little revenge spot for my boy Gerald Everett. Since week 10, Everett has been a tight end 8 in PPR leagues, missing the first matchup against his former team in week 5. This could be a sweet revenge primetime spot here for Everett, especially without Lockett out for this Seattle team. But let's go over to the Rams team real quick, go over a couple of the guys that are on that roster. Matthew Stafford's going to lead the way for the quarterback position. Stafford has had at least 20 fantasy points in each of his last 3 games. Seattle's given up around 19 points per game to opposing quarterbacks. Stafford has also played better at home due to the favorable environments in Los Angeles. But the guy that you probably want to pair Stafford with the most, and probably the highest raw projected scorer on the slate, is going to be Cooper Kupp, $9,500, $8,800 on DraftKings. He's just been putting up Madden-like numbers, man, so far this season, scoring double digits or more in every game so far this season, and he scored 15 points or more in every game but 1 so far this season. So you know what the deal is. You do not fade Cooper Kupp on these small slates find a way to get him. We talked about some of the value on the Seattle Seahawks side. The other guy that we're going to be looking at, though, is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. After scoring just 3.8 fantasy points in his first game as a Ram, it's been smooth sailing since. He scored double digits in each of his last 3 games, scoring a touchdown in each game. Beckham has seen 5 or more targets in each of his last 3 games also as well. $6,500 price tag, $4,900 on DraftKings. Better DraftKings price tag than FanDuel price tag, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But Van Jefferson's going to be right there with him. He scored a touchdown in 3 straight games, and this could be a coming out party for him, man. He was kind of drafted to be the Robert Woods replacement, and Robert Woods has been hurt, and Van Jefferson has definitely been stepping up so far this season. Other guys that we're going to be looking at on the Rams, deep targets, probably some showdown guys that you probably want to circle would be Kendall Blanton, the tight end for the Rams. This is a good matchup for the Rams tight end. The Seahawks have allowed 5 touchdowns to the tight end position in the last 4 games. So Kendall Blanton here at bare minimum price on FanDuel, and his DraftKings price is $2,500, so $500 more than the bare minimum salary. So the same exact price as your defenses. I think Kendall Blanton could definitely surprise some people on tomorrow night's game, especially if the Rams get into a pass-heavy game script. Probably would only play him in Stafford stacks. But let's go over to Darrell Henderson. In his first game against the Seahawks so far this season, he had 17 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Henderson is going to be the lead back in this offense, even with Sony Michel getting the touches. I expect Henderson to get 15 to 20 opportunities rushing or receiving. The Seahawks have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to opposing RBs this season. I would say overall, though, looking at the player pool that I have right here with the projections, my favorite play of the slate, it's kind of hard to say what my favorite play of the slate is going to be this far out, but I would say my favorite GPP play of the slate is going to be right here, Devontae Smith. Where I'm going to try to look value-wise is right here with these Seattle receivers, Freddie Swain and D. Eskridge. We talked about them a little bit earlier in the video. And then where you want to probably pay up this week is going to be Cooper Kupp and DK Metcalf at the wide receiver position. And then the running backs are kind of expensive a little bit. Antonio Gibson, Darrell Henderson would probably be the 2 pay-up options. Miles Sanders and Penny are in the mid-range. Penny absolutely smashed last week for the Seattle Seahawks, but this is kind of a different game script just in scenario, just in general. Jordan Howard would be the only other guy, $4,200, $5,600. He came back. He could vulture a couple of touchdowns back there, but let's go over to the tight end position. Kind of off of Dallas Goedert a little bit. Kind of want to focus more on these 3 tight ends right here. Kendall Blanton in those Stafford stacks. Get him at real low ownership, especially on these 2-game slates. Getting a guy under 5% ownership is going to be really hard to do. Ricky Seals-Jones, I expect him to catch some public ownership, $3,400, $5,000. I kind of like him as my favorite point per dollar tight end on the slate. And then Gerald Everett is probably going to be the guy that I'm going to plant my flag on at the tight end position. My favorite defense of the slate is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles with Garrett Gilbert in as quarterback for the Washington football team. But if you like this video, make sure you hit the bell notification so you get notified for all of our live videos. And if you want to follow me over on Twitter at Getting Bills. Make sure you enjoy the rest of your night.